Hey, how's it going? Today we are going to take a look at using GraphQL, JSON, and Gatsby to dynamically generate pages using the Gatsby Node API. So we're going to dive in a couple of dependencies that we're going to need for this. I'm using the default starter, so you can see in not Gatsby Config, package.json. We've got Gatsby image, which we're going to be using. We have this already. We're going to be using that. Gatsby plugin sharp, Gatsby source file system, and Gatsby transformer sharp. So if you don't have those, then add that to your list. And then I'm also going to add Gatsby transformer JSON, and should be yarn add Gatsby transformer JSON. And like I said, make sure you have the rest of the dependencies added to that list that I mentioned here. So if you need if you don't have Gatsby image, if you don't have Gatsby source file system or Gatsby transformer sharp, then make sure that you add those as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get those installed. So this project is one that I used previously for demoing styled components menu. So I have added a few extra things. You'll see styled components plugins here, but for the most part, everything that's the only thing that I added in terms of dependencies. But you'll see a couple of other components in here. So what we're going to need to do now is go ahead and make sure our Gatsby config is set up to utilize Gatsby transformer JSON. So we're in here. Like I said, I've got styled components added. You don't have to have this for this tutorial, but you'll see maybe things look a little bit different. I've got Gatsby transformer sharp here. I'm going to add Gatsby transformer JSON. And then Gatsby source file system is another thing that we're going to need to use. So this is already looking for this source images file. So that's for like my components and pages to use. I'm also going to want to query this folder that I'm using to store my JSON. So I'm just going to copy this down. And I've got another Gatsby source file system, and this one is going to be called data. And inside of here, I'm just going to do /data/. So that's going to make our data inside this folder accessible. So inside of data, I've got a couple of things. I've got my merch.json, and then I've got an images folder with a couple of files on the inside. And so that's what we're going to be using to dynamically generate our pages. So the important piece here is going to be the men's T. I can actually give it a title too of, we'll say men's T. And then I'll do the same thing, title. And we'll use this here in a little bit. And we'll do ladies T and men's T. All right. Cool. So we can save that. And now what we're going to do inside of our Gatsby node.js file, this should be in the root directory. If you don't have it, just add a new file and call it Gatsby node. We're going to use this to generate our pages. So we're going to export the create pages. And we're going to run this as an async function since we're querying for data here. So we're going to grab actions, and from that destructure out the create page. And then we're also going to need GraphQL for this. And then what we're going to do is grab, we'll say const data, and then we'll await our GraphQL. And then we're going to make a GraphQL call here. So we're going to use backticks. And before we actually do this, so I'm going to save it, we need to take a look at what GraphQL should be expecting here. So we can run Gatsby develop. And with this, we'll be able to use graphical, which ships with Gatsby. It's a GraphQL playground, so you can experiment with the data that you're grabbing. So I'm going to refresh that, make sure. Okay, cool. So this is already showing up. It says all merch JSON. So if I open this up, we're going to get a bunch of different subfields. We're looking for edges. And then this edges, anytime it gives you that underline, means that it's still looking for subfields. So if I open up the node is the actual individual chunk of information. So each of these objects is a node. And so we want some information from the node. We can grab the slug, we can grab the title, and we can grab the price straight away without any issues. And so that's giving us our data. For image, since it's a file, we need to give it some more information on these subfields. So we are going to grab the child image sharp, and then from that we'll grab fluid, and then for now we can grab source just to see what we've got. And there it is. You see the different the actual file there. If we do source set, you can see we've got different versions. These are the different sizes of these images. So like if you're on mobile, you're not giving somebody a gigantic file and using up all their data. But if somebody is on desktop or a larger screen, then you can give them that bigger image. We're actually going to replace this source set in our project here, but just so you can see what all the data is looking like. So in our Gatsby node, we are going to use this query structure to grab the slug. So I'm going to open up, I've got my GraphQL parentheses and then backticks. I'm going to open up curly brackets and then do all merch JSON. And then I'm just following this structure down to grab edges and then node. And then all we need here is the slug. So with GraphQL, we're going to actually pass this slug down to this template page that we'll make to show these different products. And then the template page will be able to receive the rest of this information with its own query. So underneath, we can just do some basic error handling here. Then we can console log it. Retrieving data, and then we'll grab the data.errors and return. And then underneath that, we are going to create a template to display these t-shirts. So to keep it a little cleaner, we'll do const merch template equals require.resolve, and then we're going to go to the source directory, templates, and merch page.js. We haven't created this yet. We will, in our source directory, add another folder called templates, and then inside that, our component. So we're going to grab our data. So this was maybe a little confusing, but so I called this data, or I called this object data, and then from there your query is actually called data as well. So that's why there's two. So data.data.all merch JSON.edges. So I'm working my way down the object here, merch JSON.edges. And then this edges is an array. So basically by typing in edges, we're at this stage right here in our data structure. And we want to loop over this array to grab the information from each of these objects. So we'll do edges.forEach. And then for each edge, we're going to use that create page. And I'm realizing I have a typo up here. I'm going to fix that. Create pages. We're using this create page here. And we're going to give it three things. We're going to give it a path. And we'll do slash. Let's do merch slash and then $ curly braces edge dot node dot slug. So what we're doing here, I'm just giving it a path. So from the root, so in it, like mywebsite.com/merch/ whatever the slug is. So the slug we've given here would be /men's t. And then a trailing slash. And again, I'm just working my way down this object. So, you know, all merch JSON.edges. And then remember, I'm looping over all of these. And I'm going to grab the node and then the slug from that node for my path. The component that is going to use this data is my merch template from here. So you could just the same use this line and put it here, matter of preference. And then the context is going to be that slug. And that is the piece of data that is going to inform our template on what to use. So this is actually done. We can save this. And now we're set up to create our template. So inside source, I'm going to make a new folder called templates. And then inside templates, I'm going to make a file called merch page. So remember, this is where the template is living according to this Gatsby node. So that's where it's going to look to create the page. So merch page.js. From here, I'm going to import React. From React, I'm going to import GraphQL from Gatsby. I'm going to import image from Gatsby image. And let's import layout from components/layout. There's a layout folder. No, there's not. Just layout.js. Cool. So we've got that. Real quick, for the nav, I'm just going to make a change here, and I'm going to do /merch and call this merch. Just so, you know, it's not confusing looking if you see a different section in the header. Not a big deal there. So then what we need to do is use GraphQL to make a query. based on the slug that we passed down. And we're going to do that with a variable. So if I close this back up, I have merch JSON here. I can query individual chunks of data, so this one or this one, using a variable. And I'll show you how that's done here with this query. So we'll do query, and then $slug is a string. So we're saying that we're going to expect a slug. This is a variable, and we're going to expect that slug to be a string. And then we're going to query schools JSON, where the slug is equal to that variable slug. Schools JSON. This is merch JSON. Sorry. So merch JSON, where the slug is equal to the slug there. And then the pieces of information that we want are going to be the title, the price, and the image. And then from the image, we want child image sharp fluid, and then a fragment Gatsby image sharp fluid. So you can't use this in GraphQL at the moment, but this will bundle all of the different subfields that you need to utilize Gatsby image. So now that we've got our query in our template, we can make our merch page. And now that this query is available as data. So inside here, we're going to do data. And then we've just got our regular component here. So we'll return the layout. We'll just do an h1 of data dot merch oops, this should be in curly braces. And actually, before I get into that, let's make this a little cleaner. So we'll do const merch equals data dot merch JSON. So we're just skipping down a step here. So now we can do merch dot title and h2 of merch dot price, and then we can do an image. And for this, we'll set the fluid equal to merch dot child image sharp merch dot image dot child image sharp dot fluid, and we'll give it an alt for accessibility of merch dot title. And then we will export default merch page and save. And now if we go to localhost 8000/merch/ we can grab one of these /men's t. Okay, let's go ahead and shut down and restart with Gatsby develop. Refresh, and there we go. So sometimes when you make those changes, you'll just need to restart your server. So we have men's tee and then ladies tee. Okay, so obviously didn't worry too much about styling, but so from here, what you could do potentially is like go to pages and make like merch.js and then, up here, like let's say you have, this is our mobile version. So let's go here real quick just to show you what I'm talking about. So instead of projects, let's do merch. So for example, here, what you could do is like click on merch, and then that could take you to a page that has like men's tea, ladies tea, and all of your different products. And then if you click on that, for example, then it could take you to the individual products page. So using Gatsby link to link between the different products. So it's pretty simple with all that setup after you get through all the kind of boilerplate. But using Gatsby Node, you can code up JSON and use that. So maybe as an alternative to using like a headless CMS if you just want to keep it all contained in a repo or things like that. So as always, if you got any questions, leave them in the comments, and I will see you next time.